You obviously clicked on this video because you're looking to enhance the performance of your diesel truck. I have built and am building 5 diesel trucks that make tons of horsepower and are still very reliable. So without further ado, here are the top 6 mods that you should do to enhance the performance of your diesel truck while still keeping it reliable and keeping its towing capabilities. Mod number 1 is a tuner. A tuner is one of the best mods to start out with, and most people can get the job done with just a simple tune. A tuner is easily the best mod for performance and power without spending a ton of money. On the 7.3 Power Stroke, you can use the Hydro Chip tuner, which plugs directly into the PCM and allows for you to load 15 custom tunes onto your truck. For the 6.0 and the 6.4 Power Stroke, you can use an SCT X4 tuner, which is one of the best tuners that I've found for those 2 trucks. And for the 6.7 Power Strokes, you can use a Easy Link tuner. The main benefits you will see from a tuner is increased power, better transmission shifting, better towing capabilities, and if you have the truck tuned right, you can see an increase in longevity. With just a simple tune, you should be able to increase your truck's horsepower by about 100 to 200 horsepower, but it all depends on what kind of tuning you have on the truck. I recommend everyone start out with a tune first until they start doing more performance mods. Mod number 2 is a turbo. A lot of diesel trucks come out of the factory with a turbo that just doesn't satisfy a lot of people, so I recommend installing a little bit bigger turbo if you're looking for a little bit more performance while still being able to tow and also keep that longevity aspect of your truck. I recommend KC turbos for a lot of diesel trucks at my shop and also for a lot of people out there online, just because they build turbos for the average person who's trying to tow every day, who's still trying to keep their truck reliable, who's still trying to get better fuel economy, just have a better overall running driving truck. I recommend KC turbos for basically every single one of my diesel trucks and y'all's diesel trucks. The best option for towing capabilities and still keeping reliability and still being able to daily drive your truck whilst making it rowdy is the Stage 1 option that KC offers. For 6.7 Power Stroke, they have the KC Whistler option. For the 6.0, they have a Jetfire option, and then for the 7.3, they have the 300X options, as well as the 6.4, they have a KC Fusion Compound Turbo Kit. So they mainly specialize in Power Strokes, which is what my channel is called. It's Power Stroke Central Automotive and Diesel Repair, PSC. That is kind of why I mainly lean towards KC turbos, because that is their specialty, is Power Strokes. They make a great turbo for almost every single year Power Stroke, and I recommend the Stage 1 option if you're trying to tow every day, tow heavy. That's the big one. If you're trying to tow heavy, anything 5,000, 10,000 pounds plus, I'd recommend a Stage 1 option. I think for most people, you can get what you want out of just a Stage 1. A Stage 2 option, and what I have on this truck and also my 7.3 Power Stroke, is a little bit more aggressive option. You can still tow with the truck. You can still be able to tow lightly, maybe even a little bit of towing during the week. You don't tow super heavy every day. This is for the person who doesn't tow every day and just mainly daily drives their vehicle and still want to make their truck super rowdy. I would recommend a Stage 2 option because it's not going to really lose the reliability aspect of your vehicle. Hence, I've been driving this truck for 20,000 miles and have had no problems with it. So you don't really lose the reliability aspect of anything when you install a Stage 2 turbo. So that's why I'd recommend it if you're just trying to tow moderately and you want to make a rowdy daily driver. Now, if you're really trying to get crazy and you want to make a little bit more of a race build and you want to just have a rowdy daily driver and you don't really want to tow at all, a Stage 3 option is the best option for you. I have a Stage 3 on my 6.0 and my 6.4, which is what I use for racing. They don't offer a Stage 3 option for the KC Fusion Compound Kit, but they do offer a S3R for the 6.0, which is what I have on my truck, is a Stage 3 option. And that's mainly my race truck. It's for haul and butt is what I'm trying to do. I am eventually going to upgrade to non-VGT on that truck because I am trying to make about 1,000 horsepower on fuel only, which really isn't possible on a VGT setup. I was able to make 657 horsepower on fuel only on a VGT setup, which is pretty good. Now, if you're looking to just race a truck every single day and you're looking to haul butt and you want to beat a Mustang off a red light, a Stage 3 option is going to be your best option there. Now, it obviously matters what kind of fuel setup you have, because just adding air is not going to really increase much horsepower. You need to add fuel in with that air. And I'll be touching on some of the best fuel mods for you guys later in this video. Mod number 3 is a intake manifold. There's a lot of intake manifolds out there, from the 6.7 to the 7.3. The 7.3s have intake plenums, which go on the actual side of the head. The 6.7s have a upper and lower intake manifold. So on the 6.7 specifically, you could do a pusher piping kit, which gets rid of the upper and lower intake manifold. It's going to flow a lot more, and the upper intake manifold on these tend to get clogged a lot of the times with the EGR and DPF systems. So adding that pusher piping kit will delete those two, add for a lot more airflow, and also potentially lowering EGTs and just a better running overall truck. On the 6.0 Power Strokes and the 6.4 Power Strokes, they offer a ODOG intake manifold, and that allows for 46% more airflow over the factory manifold, as well as it doesn't have the ports that go in the manifold, so it is actually completely hollow, and that will allow for lower EGTs, better spool ups. Now, obviously, you have to have a bigger turbo for that exact setup. You don't have to, but if you're looking to really really see that 46% more airflow, you'd need to have a bigger turbo to push more air into the manifold. But if you have a stock turbo, you can also run this manifold. It's not gonna hurt it. It's actually gonna benefit it because a lot of that soot, after 100, 200,000 miles on these vehicles, it'll soot up really bad in the intake manifold, and it can cause airflow restriction, which can higher EGTs. So that's why I recommend just getting an ODOG intake manifold on there. It'll allow for a lot better airflow, a lot better spool ups, and just an overall better running truck. It's gonna allow for you to tow a little bit better as well. This mod paired up with the turbo and a tune, you're looking at a really fun, rowdy daily driver that can still tow on the weekends, and you can just have a fun truck. You should be able to see around 175 to 275 horsepower increase with the correct tuning. You've got to have a hot tune on there if you're going to try to get that 175 to 275. Now, if you're really not looking for that much horsepower, you can tune it down a little bit and still get like 100 horsepower, which is what most people at our shop tend to do. You're going to get a lot different sound as well with these turbo, and the ODOG intake manifold is going to sound a lot better. It's going to let the engine breathe a lot better. This mod is an absolute must if you're looking to tow every day and also race your truck on the weekend. Whether you're doing both, this mod is universal for all of that. I would recommend putting this mod on there, whether you're trying to race a truck or tow every weekend. It's definitely an all-around perfect mod. Mod number 4 is a fast fuel system. With the more air being added, you have to add more fuel in order to increase power. That's why I would start with a fast fuel system. This fuel system will allow for you to supply more cleaner fuel to your injectors, which will increase horsepower and just make your truck run way better. Fast fuel systems offers a wide ranges of flow capacity. You have the stock to 700 horsepower fuel system, you have the 600 to 900 horsepower fuel system, and then you have the 900 to 1200 horsepower fuel systems, which if you're trying to really get rowdy, that's what I would do. Now, obviously, you don't want to put a 600 to 900 horsepower setup on stock injectors. I would recommend if you're really just trying to daily drive the truck, tow with the truck every day, and you don't have some garden hose injectors, then I would just recommend doing a stock to 700 horsepower fuel system. There's really no reason to go bigger. I tell every single customer this, you need to write down your goals with your truck. You need to figure out what you're trying to do with your truck before you go and just buying all these mods and throwing it on your truck, because you're gonna get a setup that you really hate if you don't know what you're gonna do with your truck. Seeing where you kind of want to go with your vehicle, and then buy the performance mods for that exact truck. And once you get your goals written down and figure out what you want to do with the truck, then you can buy the correct fuel system for your exact application. However, just putting a fast fuel system isn't going to directly increase horsepower. However, it might a little bit with the cleaner fuel. It's just you're not going to see much horsepower increase with just a fast. So that's why I recommend putting a bigger high pressure fuel pump or high pressure oil pump, depending on what kind of truck you have. If you think of your diesel truck like a human body, just think of the high pressure fuel pump like the heart. The heart supplies blood to your entire body, kind of like the high pressure fuel pump supplies fuel to your injectors and your entire fuel system. And you can see if you have a bad pumping heart, then everything else kind of stops working correctly. This is actually one of the biggest problems that these 6.7 Power Strokes face with the CP4 system, because they actually fail and they shave a bunch of metal off into your fuel system, and then it destroys your entire fuel system. That is why we recommend upgrading your high pressure fuel pump to something different, like a DCR pump or a Exergy pump. Those two pumps actually fix the problems that the CP4 has out of the factory, so you shouldn't experience any metal in your fuel system after those pumps. Same goes for the high pressure oil pump on the 7.3s and the 6.7 Power Strokes. If you don't have enough oil pressure supplying the injectors, they're not going to fire properly and they're not going to fire very efficiently. So that's why I recommend upgrading your high pressure oil pump as well to maybe like an Atlas Stage 1 or a Stage 2, depending on what you're trying to do with the truck. Or you could do a Thumper 1, Thumper 2 for the 6.0s. Those are also a great option as well. I personally have a Thumper 2 on my 6.0 and run 205 over 100 injectors, which it runs great. Mod number 6 is bigger injectors. This is the mod that you're absolutely going to need to do your research on, because it can make or break your diesel engine. It can either kill your diesel or it can make your diesel run like a bat out of hell. Bigger injectors allow for you to inject more fuel into the cylinder per stroke, and add that with more air and you have the perfect recipe for more horsepower. Injectors, turbo, and a tuner are kind of the main three things that you need for horsepower, but you obviously need supporting mods to back up that extra horsepower and actual extra fuel and air that you were trying to add. And if you don't pair up your injectors right with the size of your turbo, then it can make your truck run really bad, really smoky, really laggy, and just overall have higher EGTs, could possibly even melt a piston. Look at the crack. Oh my God, there's a hole in the piston, bro. I'm dead serious. Look at that, the hole in the piston, guys. So you need to make sure that you size your injectors properly with the turbo. So if you're looking to tow every day with your diesel and you own a 7.3 Power Stroke or a 6.0 Power Stroke, I would recommend doing some smaller injectors like a 160 over 0 or 175 over 30. Pair that up with a Stage 1 KC turbo and you should be perfect for towing every day, hauling up huge hills, and basically keeping your truck super reliable, able to tow mountains and still be able to have fun with the truck during the week when you really want to. That's like the perfect combination for just an overall rowdy, fun daily driver and really waking up your lousy 7.3 power stroke or really waking up that 6.0 power stroke. And as for more of the fuel injected systems like the 6.7 and the 6.4, I would keep those relatively stock. They already offer a bunch of fuel capabilities when it comes to injectors. They're good for up to 800 horsepower, so there's really no need to upgrade your injectors unless you're building a race truck. So keep your injectors stock on your 6.7 and your 6.4, just upgrade the high pressure fuel pump and you should be golden. Now, if you're really looking to get a little bit crazy while still being able to tow and keep that reliability aspect, I would recommend doing some 175 over 80 or some 250 over 80s and pair that up with a KC Stage 2 turbo. That would be a perfect combination for exactly what you're looking for on that rowdy, fun daily driver while still being able to keep it reliable. That's just a step above the Stage 1 option. Now, if you're towing heavy, I would not recommend that setup just because you do lose a little bit of that reliability aspect of your actual diesel truck. Now, if you're really looking for those garden hose injectors that you're trying to build a badass race build, then some 300 over 200s or some 455 over 300s. I know they make a ton of different options, but just that bigger injector size is what you're going to want to go with if you're trying to build like a full-on sled pull setup or a race setup. Just make sure you size the turbo properly with that setup because you're really not going to be able to do much other than race with that kind of setup if you don't have the turbo properly sized. I wouldn't even recommend daily driving or towing at all with those kind of bigger injectors just because it's going to be super smoky. If you don't have the turbo size properly, it's going to be super laggy. Even if you do have the turbo size properly, you're going to have such a big turbo to supply enough fuel to even use all that fuel that your injectors are firing that it's really going to be hard to even daily drive with that setup. But you're probably more than likely going to have to do compounds with that exact setup if you're really looking to daily drive it even remotely close. So I recommend maybe like an O-Dogs compound kit for the 6.0s or for the 7.3s. I don't really know too much. I know iRate might make a compound kit for the 7.3s, but you're definitely going to need a big S400 turbo for that exact setup. All of these mods are great for increasing the longevity of your truck while increasing performance and also keeping your towing capabilities there that the diesel truck is built for. So if you're looking to get these mods, you guys can link in the description. Just make sure to size the injectors and the turbo properly for your exact build.